Hi everyone, I'm Richard Watson from Sabre Education and welcome to Over the Rainbow. Today we're going to be looking at Joico's magnificent semi-permanent colour range called Joico Color Intensity. Today we're going to look at the mixing ratios, how to use them, the removal, how to remove them after they've been applied, and all of the ways to mix them, and we're really looking forward to letting you know all about Joico's Color Intensity. So some of the things we think you'll love about the range is that they have a really long-lasting, vibrant lastability of over 20 shampoos. They reconstruct the hair as they go. It's like putting a treatment in the hair, but you actually get long-lasting, beautiful colours. Naturally conditioning, and one of the great things about them is that they're completely intermixable. So we've got a full range of colours that can be mixed together to create an unlimited palette. So whenever you see any beautiful pastel soft tones, any bright intense colours, there's a good chance that they are Joico Color Intensity. So I love using them, and I look forward to telling you a little bit about how we can use them together in the salon. So we've got some key ingredients within the range, and the key ingredient is quadramine complex. Now, we have spoken in the past in some other videos about quadramine complex, so I won't go into too much detail about it, but that is all about restructuring, reconstructing the hair. So as you apply, just like with a K-Pack treatment, for example, you would actually be reconstructing any damage within the hair whilst you colour. Perfect. To give you massive shine and softness and subtlety, also detangling ability, is the oil. It's kukui nut oil, and it is derived from the kukui nut, from the tree, and so it's completely natural and absolutely beautiful for adding loads and loads of shine. So that's what makes these colours so long-lasting, shiny, and reconstructive. And we need to talk a little bit about how we would apply, how we would remove, and the processing time. So keep it really simple. They are a one tube application. So no developer gets applied with any of these colours. You apply it directly out of the tube. So it makes the application so simple. Put it into your bowl and brush and apply to the certain areas of the hair that you need. The processing time is 20 minutes. So when you apply the colour, it can stay on for 20 minutes. You can also do it under heat, but really we found that the longevity, the intensity of colour, it's absolutely fine at room temperature, so 20 minutes is really the way to go with these. Now, once you've applied the colour and you've developed it for 20 minutes, then you need to remove it. So the removal is maybe slightly different to a normal colour because you're generally going to be working in pre-lightened hair, and quite often we've got different panels within the hair shaft. So we might have a section of the hair at the front that is an intense bright red with the colour intensity. What we really recommend is that you section that hair out and you rinse the hair really, really well for a matter of minutes on that particular area, and then you would shampoo the hair with your K-Pack Colour Therapy shampoo. Then rinse, apply cuticle sealer. That stays in for 5 minutes. That helps to lock the colour in and equalise the pH level of the hair. And then you'd finish the process with the K-Pack hydrator. So that's the ultimate way to remove the colour. It will give you long-lasting results, but also will help to getting any run out of the hair. Now, speaking of run in the hair, if you are doing a really bright colour and your client has a white pillowcase or something like that at home, we would recommend that they probably use a darker pillowcase because there can be a little bit of run after the colour, but that is marginal if you follow these steps. Always wear gloves when applying the colour. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual colours. Now, something fantastic about the Joico Color Intensity colour range is that they can be applied to different levels of pre-lightened hair. Now, to get the ultimate results with the range, you would pre-lighten the hair. But depending on which particular shade that you're using, depends on how high you need to lift that hair in the pre-lightening process. So for example, if we were to look at our intense red color intensity, you can see there that it recommends to be lifted to a level 7. Now that's not a high level of lift when you're dealing with pre-lightened hair, and it might actually be someone's natural hair. So if you've got a client that's a level 7, you could apply the color intensity red and get excellent, fantastic results. However, if you need to lift darker hair and you need to lift up to the level 7, remove your lightening system, your pre-lightening product, off at the level 7. There's no need to go higher. You'll get the best results if you follow these instructions. So that's for a really intense, strong color, and it's quite dark. So level 7 is all you need. But if we look at the other side of the spectrum, we might be looking at blush, for example, which is a pastel tone. And the blush needs to be lifted to a level 10. Now, when you lift up to that level 10, you will find that applying one of the pastel toners, that gives you a beautiful, soft pastel result. They aren't as intense and as strong as some of the darker colors, but we can also use the clear to pastelize those dark colors. I'll show you that in a minute. So when we're using the products, remove the lid, and then you need to remove the aluminium safety seal. Now, if we are pastelizing one of the darker colors to create that soft pastel tone, then you would lift the hair up lighter. And something that's really important is you apply the clear first. So we've taken off the seal. I'm going to squeeze clear into the bowl. And then the next move is to drip feed the color. We're going to use pink. This would be usually lifted to a level 9, but because we're going to pastelize it, I would then be lifting up to a level 10. Once again, remove the protective seal. And you want to drip feed. The idea is that you put the clear in first, and then you can really have control over the amount of pastel tone you've got, because what you see is what you get. So I'm just going to put a little drip of my pink in and give it a mix. So if you do it the other way around, you find that you don't have as much control. Always put the clear in first. You can see after a quick mix, we've gone from an intense, strong color to more of a gentle pastel pink. If we found that was perfect, then I would go for it. But what I like to do is quite often do some tests. I'll just get simply a white sheet of paper and just paint my test color on here. And I'll look at that and I'll think to myself, that's what I'm after. Or maybe not. Maybe I need to drip feed a little bit more of the pink in it. So we'll do that and we'll just see. We'll get the pink again. And I'm going to do another drip of pink into the bowl. Give this a mix. And we'll just see if this has affected the tone to the point that it gets me where I want to be. You can see a slight difference there. We've got a much more pastel tone here. We have a little bit more depth. So you can continue to drip feed the color until you get exactly what you want. You may find that you want to intermix other colors in there. you might want to cool it down by adding one of the cool tones in there. I might add some lilac into it, which is a soft pastel tone, just to cool down that pink a little bit. It is so much fun applying, mixing. It is just the closest thing that we've got to painting in hairdressing, because there's no need for any mixing of peroxides or anything like that. You can really just go to your heart's content on being creative and not worrying about any extra rules. It's just go for it. So I like to do that, and it's a good way you can show your clients as well. You can give them the idea, or let's put a little bit more in.
Question here, Rich.
Yes.
Is colour intensity applied to wet or dry hair?
Good question. It can be to both. So you can shampoo first and dry off about 90%, or you can apply to directly dry hair. There is no specific set way to apply. I believe that it's more about what's practical in the salon. If you've got a client that's come in and you've done the pre-lightning service, then they're going to have wet hair. I wouldn't apply it to completely wet hair. I would definitely dry it off with a hairdryer and apply some HKP porosity equalizer first. Dry it off about 80% dry and then apply. If you had a client that came in that actually, you said, Abby, that you were thinking about maybe doing a colour intensity just for a party, maybe just only have it in for a week, you've already got your hair pre-lightened. So you could go to the salon and then you could have it applied directly, as long as the hair was clean. So, yeah.
In saying that, Rich, I mean, you know, what do you think? Could I, me as a level 9, what if I wanted to experiment with going over to the dark side and taking it back down to, say, a level 5 on me? Could I do that with intensities just to test it out?
If you're going from your level 9 to a really deep colour, absolutely, you can do it. We do have a specific product that will remove that, which we'll talk about in a second and give you details of. So yes, you can do a colour and still remove it. However, if you want a really, really strong result, that's definitely going to last a lot longer than if you went for one of your pastel tones. So the pastel tones tend to last, we say it's going to last up to 10 to 15 shampoos. And if you go for your much more intense, deeper colours, then they'll last over 20 shampoos. Now, if you've got a client that's asking for specifics, I think it's best that you always say the wording, it will last up to a certain amount of shampoos, because we really don't know what their routine is at home, and you don't want to tell them exactly it's going to last you 5 shampoos.
I've got a question here, Rich.
Yes.
What is the longevity of the colour when you weaken the colour with the clear? And also, would you pre-tone the hair before applying the pastel shades?
Oh, awesome. 2 perfect, really good questions. So the idea of pastelizing with clear, that lifts the level of the colour and it dilutes the amount of tone. So you would treat it as one of your pastel tones. So for example, we use the pink, which is recommended to be lifted to a level 9. Then I would lift it up to a level 10 if I had applied the clear, just like we did then. And the longevity would be shorter. So that's when I'll be talking to up to 15 shampoos rather than up to 20.
What would you recommend for maintenance at home?
Good question. I'll go back. There was another question previously. It was a 2-part question.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah, so toning, that's really good. I was going to bring it up, but thank you for whoever asked the question, because toning is really important. If you're doing a pastel toner and you've lifted to the required level, let's say it's a level 9 for the pink, for example, and you still have a lot of warmth in the hair, then some specific colours I would definitely tone with. If it was the pink and I had a bit of warmth in their hair, I think I would be okay with that, because pink is warm. So that's fine. In that case, I may not tone. But if I was going in with, let's say, one of the pastel pearls, or one of my cooler colours like the lilac. So anything that's cool, if you're applying it to pre-lighten the hair that still has warmth in it, then yeah, you should tone it. You definitely should tone it first. that makes sense from colour theory. So, for example, I've lifted up to my level 9 and I'm going to apply a cool pastel violet onto the hair. Then if there's if there's lots of yellow left in the hair, then I definitely need to remove that. Perfect example would be to go in with your Joico K-Pack Chrome V9 to remove the yellow with the violet, or in the LumiShine Liquid Demis, the 9NV. So they would be toning first to get a really clean, clear palette, so your canvas is ready to apply the next step, which is your pastel toner. When you do that, you'll get the best results and the longest lasting results as well.
Do you find that will even out the colour? Stop any patches of porosity?
Yeah, absolutely. So pre-toning helps to give you a more even colour all along the root shaft, all along the hair shaft from roots to ends. Pre-toning is really important when you're doing the pastel colours. If we're talking about an intense colour like the red, which we spoke about earlier, this tends to have enough depth in it that it will not need any evening out. It should be quite even. That said, with all of my colour intensities, I always make sure that I use a porosity equaliser prior to it, or even better, if you've done a lightning service, then you would use the Defy Damage Pro Series Step 1 to help even that porosity out, fill the hair and repair the hair prior to your application of colour intensity.
And sorry, Rich, this is another question that's come up, which is actually similar to what I just asked before, but what shampoo and conditioner do you recommend with intensity colours? So I guess take home, we're talking.
Yeah, so there was a question earlier about maintenance, and that maintenance is a really great question, because depending on what your client wants, do they want longevity out of this colour range? That's probably the majority of the time. You might have a client like yourself, Abby, that said you just want it for a short period of time. So if they're after longevity, then I would definitely be looking at using one of our Joico colour ranges. For example, your K-Pack Colour Therapy is absolutely perfect. However, we do have some toned conditioners, and they're called the Colour Intensity Colour Butters, and they can be perfect for keeping the intense, long-lasting colours at home. Always important, if you are trying to keep a really soft pastel colour as long as possible, shampoo as little as possible. So that is where you can bring in the Weekend Hair, which is a dry shampoo. That will help to get your longevity, because you're not going to be shampooing it every day. You can skip a couple of days by using your dry shampoo. So everything that you can do at home to stop removing the colour, such as shampooing, swimming in chlorine, using heat. Heat is another thing that will remove colour quicker with the pastel tones. All of those things will help. So there's lots of things, and it's definitely something you want to talk to your client about if they want longevity out of a pastel tone. I think that answered the question.
Yeah, great.
Cool, excellent. All right, so I think we can move on to the removal of the colour.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, we've got one more question. If the colour is left on longer than 20 minutes, will it last longer?
No. The 20-minute development time is what it's made to do. The pigments are made to do their thing in the 20 minutes. There is no need for extra timing. It won't affect the longevity of the colour. As we kind of touched on before, longevity really is up to what happens afterwards. What is the client doing at home? What products are they using? That's as important as the timing in the salon.
Okay, and is it more beneficial to wash the hair in cool water to help against the fade also?
Yeah, great point, absolutely. So we like to rinse the colour in cool water in the salon, but a recommendation for your client would be to do the same at home, and that will keep it in longer as well. So all those little things help to just get that little bit more out of those pastel tones.
Cool.
Excellent. So thanks, that's great questions today, I really appreciate that. Removal of colour. So if we go and look at the opposite side of the spectrum, and we've got a client that actually wants to remove it, we've talked about trying to keep it in as much as possible, then removing this colour is absolutely doable in the salon, but it needs a specific product. We do not recommend using any standard powder or cream lightening products. Any standard bleachers do not use with Color Intensity. Color Intensity has a specific eraser, which is this baby here. So what this does, it deactivates the direct dyes. The direct dyes are in the semi-permanent Color Intensity colours, and it deactivates those. Now, it's important that you don't use a bleach. You use this. It does make a big difference. So it's really simple to use. It comes in a sachet that is, I think it's 43 grams. Can you get that?
Mm-hmm.
43 grams. So if you were to use the whole thing of this, it's a 1:2 mixing ratio. So that takes you up to 86 grams, close to 90 grams of developer. I'll talk about which developers to use in a second. The mixing ratio is 1:2. If you don't use the whole packet, just do a 1:2, but make sure you seal the packet back up and use it in a timely manner. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, we recommend 3 different developing options. Mixing in a 1:2 mixing ratio with your Color Intensity eraser. You can mix it with water, which is 0 volume. You can mix it with 10 volume, which is 3%, or you can mix it with 20 volume, which is 6%. So those mixes are 1:2, and depending what you're trying to achieve, obviously for more intense colour, to remove it, you want to go up to your highest level, which is 20 volume, which is the highest that we would recommend for removal. So there should be a slide up on the screen that actually has some before and after photos. So this can give you a bit of an example. The example at the top is using a eraser with water, and there you've got the pastel tones. There's still colour left in the hair, but it is definitely more on the pastel side, or whether that's because it was initially a pastel colour or because it's faded a lot. That's when just water with your eraser, that'll be enough, absolutely be enough to remove. You can leave it on for up to 30 minutes and applying it at room temperature, no heat. So pastel tones, water in 30 minutes, perfect. Moving to the middle picture there, we've still got a fair bit of colour in there. It's not as bright and intense as what it could be, but I think that type of colour probably needs your 10 vol mixed. 10 vol for 30 minutes. And then to the bottom slide, the bottom picture there, we've definitely got more intense red colour. They tend to really need that extra strength of the 20 volume. So 20 volume, 1:2 with your colour eraser for 30 minutes, and that will remove. Important to remember not to use bleach, and important to remember to apply the colour eraser to the area that has the semi-permanent colour pigment. So those direct dyes work with this. If you apply it to virgin hair, it will lift in a similar way to a bleach, but I think it's important that if you're trying to remove the colour pigment from your Color Intensity, that it gets applied to those areas only. It's very gentle and it will not damage the hair, but it will remove it in that deactivating way.
Question here, do you have any tips on removing magenta?
Removing magenta? Yes, so the same thing. Magenta tends to be one of the really strong colours that tends to last a long, long time, which can be brilliant for your client that says, I can't believe a semi lasts so long, but at some stage you may need to change. And the tip is exactly what I've just said then. Definitely use your colour eraser, use 20 volume developer for the magenta, apply it to the areas where the magenta is still present, and time for 30 minutes.
Do you like to apply it at the basin or at the station? Where do you like to think it's better easier for you?
So with the colour eraser, it depends on what's needed in the application. If it's a panel section and it's quite fiddly, then I would definitely be doing it at the station and applying with foil to make sure I separate the hair that doesn't need this to the hair that does. If it was an all-over application and I was using water, let's say, I think the first picture that we had up was pretty much an all over faded tone, that's when I would be okay to do that at the basin. If it's a global color, basin is fine, but it's all about accuracy if you need the accuracy, which you can't get at the basin. Cool. So that's our color eraser, perfect for removing semi-permanent color pigment in a gentle and effective manner.
So, Rich, if somebody is a real color enthusiast and they want to swap and change a lot, do you need to use a eraser between each application? Like, do you want a clean palette, or can you go over intensity with more intensity?
Oh, yeah, good question. I've got to think about that. So every example is going to be individual, and it will depend on what color is left in the hair and what the desired result is. So for example, if we use the extremes like we have done, we use the red, really intense, strong red, and we want to lift that up and end up having a soft pastel violet pearl. That is a situation where you definitely would need to remove the red with your color intensity and 20 volume.
Eraser.
Sorry, color intensity eraser, yeah. So you remove it with the eraser and 20 volume, and then you would start from scratch. You probably would need to tone that then as well, and prior to the violet pearl, because this is a cool color. So that's one example where you definitely would need to change. But let's swap that on its head and do the opposite and say that she was the pastel violet pearl and she wanted to go to red. That's a situation where I would apply it straight over. Absolutely, because there's no problem in putting a color intensity on a color intensity as long as you're okay with a slight blend of tones. And when you're going darker, for example, a strong deep red will really overtake any very soft pastel violet in the hair. So always ways to keep that excitable client moving in different directions. As a general rule, if she wants to go more soft with the tone, you need to remove it. If she wants to go stronger with the tone, you can generally apply straight over. Cool. Well, thank you all very much for the questions today. That's been really, really good. I hope that this has shed some light on colour intensity, the way to use it, and some hints and tips. From a personal point of view, if you are trying to create long-lasting, intense tones, this is the best I've ever used. If you're trying to create beautiful, gentle pastels, then this is the perfect range as well. So I look forward to talking to you in the future to find out some of your experiences with colour intensity. And before we go, I'd like to let you know that we have a class on tomorrow as well. We'll be going live with Pauline, and she'll be doing their head paint fudge masterclass. That's on tomorrow, Wednesday the 21st of May.
Wednesday 12th, sorry, Rich.
Sorry, Wednesday the 12th of May at 6 p.m. in New South Wales, 8 p.m. in New Zealand, and 6 p.m. in Queensland, and 4 p.m. in WA. So look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, bye.